the frog or the toad that ribbits. They're doing dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam is simple, my brothers and sisters. Islam is for that child who has not even reached puberty yet. And Islam is for the greatest mashayikh and shuyukh of this world that this world has ever seen. It is for the ulama, it is for the scholars, it is for the rich and the poor and the men and the women, for males and females, it is for the white and the black and the brown, and everyone in between. Islam is as simple can be. And the more you learn about it, and Allah gives you more knowledge, and Allah gives you more intellect, the more you realize how deep Islam is, and how deep ilm and the ulum and the knowledges and the sciences can go. That is true. But by and large, for 90+% of the human, not Muslim, human population, Islam is simple. Islam is straightforward. Do good, submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe in Allah azza wa jalla, and die with that. Do your best. Do your best. Iman and faith is preserved, it is protected, because it is precious and it is priceless to us. And the mizan, the scale of justice on the day of judgment, is not about racking up the number of good deeds. It is called the mizan, it is called a scale. It is called a scale of justice, because your good deeds and your bad deeds will be weighed. It will be weighed. It is about the wazn. It is about the weight of your good deeds. And you could have given $1, but it is so heavy. And the person who comes after your hisab gave $1 million, but their intention was incorrect, or their intention was correct. So those $1 million are going to weigh less in the scale of justice of Allah, the mizan, than your dollar that you gave sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that being said, my brothers and sisters in Islam, this concept of Islam that I mentioned at the beginning of the introduction, and that is that Iman is preserved, the heart is cleaned, it is kept clean, and we preserve our hearts, we secure our hearts. What is precious to you, your car, you lock it, you lock your houses, you safeguard your children, your families, your loved ones, because they are dear to you, they are beloved to you, so you safeguard and you protect them. We get ADT, so on and so forth, we get security systems, we have passwords to our accounts, to our bank accounts, biometrics, because these are things that are precious to us. So we preserve and protect it. Our hearts are to be protected, are to be preserved even more seriously than everything that I mentioned, all of the above. And as a reminder again, when you preserve your heart, your actions will follow suit. This is the simplicity. And the main topic today will be about drugs and alcohol. But this is the simplicity upon which I want to remind myself and everyone that when people complicate the deen, or what is khamr and what's an intoxicant, come on, marijuana has benefits, CBD, and we complicate things so much. Islam is simple. Submit to Allah. Submit to Allah. Understand what Islam means, literally. Submission. Submit to Allah. Give yourself into Allah. Submit yourself to Allah. Purify your heart. Clean your soul. Clean your mind. Purify your mind. Your actions will follow suit. You will pick up the Quran. You will put your forehead on the floor. And the one who indulges and the one who does that and does more and more, and will want to give more in charity, will want to smile more, will want to do dhikr more, remember Allah more, make istighfar more, make tawbah more. This is that heart. Your actions are following suit. Present marijuana to this person. Present alcohol to this person. This person will not take it. Present alcohol along with a treasure full, a chest full of treasures. And this person will not drink alcohol. Present it to somebody next to you who is struggling financially, but their foreheads are on the ground for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, literally and metaphorically. And their hearts are submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in ubudiyya, in servitude and slavery only and only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person will reject all of the gold and the treasures in the world, wallahi, and the person will not take a drop of an alcoholic drink, a hit of that joint, a single hit, will not smoke that even once. If you bring a box full of treasures, or even more, and you tell them just take one hit of this weed, the marijuana, it's not even that strong, but they know it's haram. The one whose heart is truly submitted to Allah, my brothers and sisters in Islam, that person will look at these as liabilities on the Day of Judgment. Not in this world necessarily, even though we know the harms that are caused in this world. So as I move on to the first point, we talk about drugs and alcohol. A lot of students with us, especially from the younger ages, relatively younger compared to college students, this is where it begins, and we think it's cool. Mentioned in ayah in the Quran. And this is for all of us to understand and teach our children, especially living in this country. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-An'am, perfect name for the surah in which this ayah is mentioned, the chapter of the cattle, C-A-T-T-L-E, cattle. Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran the words of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you follow most people on earth, if you obey, تُطِعْ أكثر, most people, مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, who are in this world, on this earth, يُضِلُّوكَ, they will misguide you, they will mislead you, عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first point we mentioned that's connected with the introduction is weak iman leads to sins. It is your iman and the strengthening of your iman, cleaning of your heart and your soul and your submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will protect you against haram. And if you slip, you will not make it into a lifestyle, because this will not be who you are. It will be a mistake you made. It will not be who you are. It will not define you, because you will make tawbah to Allah, because that is not who you are. You will not become an alcoholic, even though one drop of alcohol should never touch the tongue of the believer, never even come close to the believer. Even in the aisles of the grocery store, the believer avoids those aisles. To go through them, they'll turn around and go to another aisle in order to go get the ice cream that they want. They will avoid that aisle. They will avoid the vicinity. So your heart that is pure, point number one, and connected with the introduction, the heart that is clean, the soul that is clean, that is given in and has submitted itself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is a heart that will say no to all the above that is haram. The second point, this ayah in Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you follow most people who are on earth, most humans, most people on earth, they will misguide you. They will misguide you. And brothers and sisters, by the way, if you take the average person on earth, they're not evil. Most people are not malicious. Most, 95+% of human beings on earth, I might be wrong, everyone has their own subjective conclusions, but 90+% of people, they're not malicious, they're not evil. They're not looking around saying, I want to smoke this so I can take my friend and I want to ruin his life. And I want this person to live under the bridge for the rest of their lives, for the rest of their life. Most people are not like that. And this is, shaitan knows that even the kuffar, even the disbelievers, shaitan, the shayateen, they know that even the disbelievers, even the sinning Muslims who go and dance, they party, they drink, they have haram relationships, shaitan knows that even if it's buried deep down in their hearts, shaitan knows that there's goodness in there, and this is one of the fears, this is one of the concerns of Iblis. This is one of the greatest concerns and fears of Iblis. That goodness that is within the heart, it will shine through one day. And I need to cover it up. I need to make this believing slave of Allah, this Abdullah, Amatullah, this slave of Allah, I need this person to not remember Allah even once. So shaitan will use every trick in the book. And as the years progress, as the years move forward towards the Day of Judgment, shaitan gets trickier with his tricks. And the new technologies come out, social media did not exist in the past. Shaitan will use every tool at his disposal to mislead and misguide us. So this, number one is your friends. Secondly, the celebrities and the role models that our children, our sons and daughters, they follow. So I speak to you, young ones, when you follow these people, who do you think they are? And you pause for a moment, even after years and years, and even people who have gone to Islamic school, sometimes, I'm your older brother, I'm going to be straightforward right now. Well, it's so disheartening sometimes the way some of you guys, I'm being straightforward, some of you guys speak about these celebrities. It's as if they are taken as gods. It's as if they are the standards and the peaks of excellence and perfection. If you live in their private lives, if you live in their mansions, which they are struggling with, if they don't maintain it, they have to hire people, the more money, more problems. If you live in their mansions, if you live in their palaces, and if you just see their lives, we see snippets, we see some security footage, one CCTV security footage that comes out, and the cheating, and the infidelity, and the cursing, and the drugs, and the alcohol, and the prison sentence, and now they're being charged with this, and the assault, and the domestic violence. And if you look at their lives, it's in shambles. Somebody was telling me recently, we were talking about talaq, and they said, this couple, they used to go out for these many years, they were together, and then they broke off, and then after 15, 20 years, whatever, they got married again, and the whole world said, wow, they're in love. And some people said God meant for them to come together. These are celebrities that, if you see them on the streets, the average Muslim would go and hug them even if they're not, the opposite gender. Who do we take as our role models, brothers and sisters? After less than a year, they're divorced again. Now, we're not saying that, alhamdulillah, talaq is, we always use divorce as an example of a type of failure because we look at it as a statistic. We look at the numbers. Some brothers and sisters, they get offended because they come from divorced backgrounds. Brothers and sisters, my parents, my mother and father, they're divorced. Astaghfirullah, I'm not saying that my father's a failure, astaghfirullah, in life. That's not the point, but when we look at the numbers, and they're like 50%, 60% in some states, 70% in some states, you know that a society is headed towards failure, is actually failing, not heading towards failure. And you look at their lives, and these are the same people who, when they divorce, they have no shame. They're divorced because of infidelity. Look at the drugs, look at the alcohol, look at their lives, and look at what they're promoting, even within the movies and the shows that we let our children watch. And this is something which, wallahi, I'm not the best amongst you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all better than what people believe about us. Ameen. But brothers and sisters, this is something which baffles my mind. And it's been years, and I've talked to my own blood brothers and sisters, my relatives, you, my loved ones, my community. I've talked to people for years, and it seems as if it flies over the mind, goes in one ear and comes out the other ear. If you have Netflix, if you have Disney Plus, Uqsim billah, you will be responsible, you'll be liable to Allah on the Day of Judgment. I don't understand how we cannot cancel. I don't understand how we cannot look into other resources, there are other entertainments. There are Christian platforms where they don't even mention the Bible. There are some videos on YouTube. You have to be very careful. And if you're a parent and if you have the responsibility and Allah has blessed you with a son or daughter, you got to take the time out. You have to take the time out to research this. Not saying, what, Allah, I didn't know if there was an alternative to Netflix. The Christians are spending millions of dollars. In their churches, they're yelling, unsubscribe, remove Netflix from your living room, from your house, protect your Christians, non-Muslims. So what do you, to confuse, I follow Christian websites, social media pages, on Reddit and Quora. I follow all these things, and they're saying, they're criticizing each other. They're saying, you're still on Disney Plus? Are you serious? Don't you love Jesus? No, Disney Plus, what are you doing? Are you serious? Their minds are baffled. And I talk to some Muslims, and they're like, oh yeah, we have Disney Plus. I talk to New Academy kids, oh yeah, on Disney Plus I was watching. Brothers and sisters, the educational system and the media, how else are they going to attack your children? And you give them free access. Why don't you leave the door open? Why don't you leave the front door open? I remind myself, Allah is not, I'm not any angry, upset. You're all my brothers and sisters in Islam. I look up to most of you, if not all of you. I know Allah knows that I am the first one who needs work to be done on myself. But brothers and sisters, it baffles my mind. This is, wallahi al-azim, it is worse then leaving the front door open, you fear physical harm, you fear a robber, you fear a burglar, but you don't fear these filthy, disgusting sinners who are killing the hearts of your children and your own selves, your own hearts. How is that possible? How is that possible? What will we say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You're really going to filter through every single movie, every single show. How many, the vast majority of our children have watched the Avengers, for example. And you have the Iron Man hanging on non-mahrams, just hugging, all these things that are going on. They're drinking alcohol. They're just casually drinking alcohol. Tell me this does not desensitize our believing sons and daughters. The influence of the media. We talked about friends. You follow most people on earth. Choose your friends wisely, brothers and sisters. They will mislead you, or they will lead you towards Jahannam or Jannah. And vice versa too, because you have to be good company as well for others. You may be the best company on earth, but you choose the wrong company, and they're smoking around you, they're drinking around you. I'm a designated driver, I'm okay, I won't smoke, I won't drink, oh I'm Muslim, oh he's Muslim, she's Muslim, okay, no, we won't give it to her, we're not going to give it to him, they're designated driver. Wow, reciting Quran in the car while they're drunk, throwing up in your back seat. This is a trick of shaitan. Oh, but what if they die and then say, Wallah, it's not going to be on me. You should have zero guilt. Zero guilt. If anyone dies because they decide to drive and drink, you should have zero guilt. Unless you get caught right in that moment, but you're not in that company. You get caught right in that moment, somebody calls you and says, hey, I'm stuck and I'm in danger. Then go and help them, of course. We should help others, Muslims or non-Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, amen. We're talking about going to those parties, staying with those people, keeping them as friends. It's eventually a matter of time. And I've been a youth director for more than 10 years, may Allah accept from me, ameen. 99 plus, I would say at least 95, I'll be on the safer side. Is that a small number? Percentage, 95+% of the cases where my brothers and sisters ended up with alcohol, ended up with drugs. It was because initially they said, I didn't think I would ever do it. Me, I'll never do it. My father, he's active in the masjid, he's on the board of this masjid. My mother, she's full niqab, full abaya, she's hafiz of the Quran. I went to Sunday school my whole life. I never thought that I would do this. I never thought I would be drinking alcohol. I never thought I would be drinking, I never thought I'd be having. Shaitan tricks you. Shaitan leaves the breadcrumbs in his footsteps. And do not follow in the khutwat of shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, there's the footsteps of shaitan. Until you look up and you realize where the footsteps have led you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve our families, protect our brothers and sisters, our sons and our daughters. Ameen. I'm going to finish this first part of the khutbah, the first khutbah, with two things. Number one, the preservation of the mind. The word khamar in Arabic is usually translated as alcohol. A good, better translation is intoxicant. Anything that intoxicates. Your mind sends signals to the rest of your body in order to perform actions. Your mind is instructed by the source of the aql, and that is the qalb. Allah mentions this in the Quran. The source of your aql. Aql usually is translated as intellect, or loosely translated today. Aql is your intellect. And a lot of us have been, we think because we're so scientific with everything, we cannot microscope the qalb of the soul. The source of your intellect is the heart. It is the aql. The source of your aql is the qalb. It is the heart. When the heart is clean, the heart will instruct your mind. The heart is the headquarters. It's the command center for the rest of your body. Your heart that is clean, the heart that is clean, instructs the mind even to think a certain way. It instructs the mind to not do something. It stops, it prohibits the mind. And then the signals go from the brain, and it stops the hand from reaching out to that bottle, or from taking that joint or that weed, or smoking that, or sniffing, snorting that. It stops it. It stops the legs from going to those places. But the source of those instructions is the heart. And that is why we mentioned, brothers and sisters, the heart might be clean. In fact, the heart can be a little dirty, a little clean, and it's feeling guilty, and we all know that feeling. That feeling that says, make tawbah to Allah, what are you doing? Clean your heart. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Your children, nothing will benefit you. Your money, nothing, except for the one who comes to Allah with a clean heart. So that heart that has some cleanliness left on it, and shaitan is trying to bury it with filth and sins, that heart screams out in the darkness and says, stop, what are you doing? Khamar, the word, I'm tying it in, the word khamar, you know, in Arabic, the woman who covers her head to chest is mentioned in Surah An-Nur, khimar, khumurihinna, khimar. It comes from the same root word khamar, because khamar is something that affects the mind over here. And even in classical Arabic, even at the times of Jahiliyyah, and before the Quran was revealed, this word khamar was used, but not as widely as muskir. That's a different word. But khamar was still used, and then the Quran solidified it, the words of Allah solidified. This is the word that will be used. Khimar is something that the woman, she covers herself up with, starting from the head all the way down. But the head must be covered. As a reminder to those who argue whether hijab is farad or not, and this word is clearly used in the Quran to cover the head. So the khimar is that because it's covering the head. Khamar is something that intoxicates the mind. Now imagine the heart that is saying, stop. What are you doing? Why aren't you praying? Why aren't you finding this love in the Quran? Why are you not flipping through the pages of the Quran? The heart is screaming out and constantly being buried under the darkness of whatever shaitan is throwing at you. And now there's a flicker of light, there's a little glimmer of hope left. And the heart is screaming out to the mind to do something that is good. But that mind is intoxicated. That mind gave in to vaping a while ago. That mind gave in to snorting that a while ago. And that khamar that took over the mind now influences the brain and tells your body what to do. And therefore these people become slaves to their addictions. That is why the Prophet ﷺ narrated from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, مُدْمِنُ الْخَمْرِ, the one who persists in khamr, كَعَابِدِ الْوَثَنِ, is like the one who worships idols. The one who is indulgent, and they indulge and they persist in intoxicants, is like the abid of wathan, the worshipper of idols. Every time that intoxicant yells out to them, worship me, they obey it over Allah. Do not start with all this vaping trash stuff. My brothers and sisters, throw it out of your life. Not only the gateway, we don't need to argue about the health and all of that stuff. Is this, if the Prophet ﷺ was next to you, would you whip it out of your pocket? Do Allah a favor, because count the favors of Allah upon you. And just trash it. Don't think about selling it. Trash it. And wallahi, Allah will replace it with something better. May Allah make us from those who take in and breathe the air and the wind of Jannah. Ameen. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ الشَّيْطَانِ, indeed shaitan wants what? أَنْ يُوقِعَ بَيْنَكُمْ الْعَدَاوَةِ, shaitan wants to entice from amongst you, between all of you. Shaitan wants to entice enmity, wants to stir up enmity and hatred amongst you. Shaitan always wants hatred and bloodshed, وَالْبَغْضَاء, and all of this evil and sins. Shaitan is always trying, that heart that we talked about, always trying to cover that heart. Any cleanliness that's left, the shayateen leave no room. They want it fully covered. And remember, one of the greatest concerns of Iblis is that the heart of this slave, some of the filth and the dirt might come undone. Clean your hearts. Fil khamri, with khamr, intoxicants. So shaitan tries to sow discord and fights and hatred and enmity and sins and that which is disgusting and filthy between you through what? The khamr wal maisir, and through gambling. وَيَصُدَّكُمْ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, and shaitan wants to avert you and mislead you away from ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, from the remembrance of Allah. وَعَنِ الصَّلَاةِ, and shaitan wants to avert you from salah. Through intoxicants and through gambling, shaitan wants to avert you from the remembrance of Allah and from prayer. The one who persists in the remembrance of Allah and in prayer, bring that person to me. Name that person and tell me if that person at the same time simultaneously is also going to the casinos and is also drinking alcohol and doing drugs. Name that person who is doing as a lifestyle. You cannot, the heart only has room for that which is clean or that which is dirty. And then there are those who are in the process of cleaning out their hearts. So it may contain both. But there is a process, either there's a progression or there's a regression. Allah says shaitan wants to sow discord and hatred and fight and sins amongst you through gambling and through intoxicants. And shaitan, when shaitan is doing this, through the two of these, shaitan wants to divert you and move you away from the remembrance of Allah and from worshipping and praying as-salah, worshipping and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my brothers and sisters in Islam, which one will we be? Which one will you choose? And I know, again, talking to all of these youth, some of them my own relatives, close loved ones, talking to them, those who have drank alcohol even in their early teenage years, if not earlier, may Allah protect our children, ameen. Those who have done hard drugs in their mid-teen years, people around here are close to me, people who I know, people who a lot of you know as well. May Allah protect and guide and forgive them and all of us, ameen. My brothers and sisters, it did not start off with evil. It didn't start off with malice and hatred of Allah and love of shaitan. No, their friends telling them, you should hate your God. It doesn't start off like that. It's just, hey man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. Shaitan is laughing. It's cool today. I'm going to tell you what it's going to be like 20 years from now. How many of them are people that I know, I'm talking about these people as I speak, brothers and sisters, who have stood at the edge of buildings, ready to kill themselves and commit suicide because of this. Do not gamble with your life. My young, especially young brothers and sisters, give it up. And if you need help, we are here for you, inshallah. And I'm finished with this, inshallah. Aisha radiallahu anha, I'm going to tie it in all the way to the beginning, to the first part of the khutbah, to the introduction. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said the following. إنما نزل أول ما نزل منه سورة من المفصل. Aisha radiallahu anha, one of the greatest scholars to ever grace this earth, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, she said, the first of the surahs that were revealed were the short surahs, the end of the Quran al-Mufassal. There were the short surahs that were revealed, and she said, فِيهَا ذِكْرُ الْجَنَّةِ وَالنَّارِ. In it are reminders, remembrances of Jannah and the Nar, heaven and hell. حَتَّى إِذَا ثَابَ النَّاسُ إِلَى الْإِسْلَامِ. Until the people were established upon Islam, towards Islam. Islam is what they were established upon. ثَابَ النَّاسُ إِلَى الْإِسْلَامِ نَزَلَ الْحَلَالُ وَالْحَرَامُ. And then the halal and the haram came down. She said, وَلَوْ نَزَلَ أَوَّلَ شَيْءٍ لَا تَشْرَبُ الْخَمْرِ. If the first verses to be revealed would have been, do not drink alcohol, لَقَالُوا لَا نَدَعُ الْخَمْرِ أَبَدًا. The people, the Muslims, the believers, they would have said, we will never give up alcohol ever, أبدا. وَلَوْ نَزَلَ لَا تَزْنُوا. And if it were revealed in the beginning, do not commit zina, لَقَالُوا لَا نَدَعُ الزِّنَا أَبَدًا. The people would have said, we will never give up zina, ever. The point is, how much weight does Jannah and Jahannam hold? Do Jannah and Jahannam hold in our hearts? How much fear do we have of Jahannam? When you light that up, and you imagine your body literally being lit up in Jahannam because of lighting that up. Ask yourself if it's worth it. The people who do not fear Jahannam say, oh brother, don't talk like that, it's too scary. I want to hear about Jannah. Do you really long for Jannah? Do you really truly long for Jannah while you light that up? While you vape that, while you snort that, while you sniff that and you drink that? And you feel, oh, I'm going to be from the people of Jannah. You think the people of Jannah who will enjoy the company of the Anbiya, the messengers, the prophets, and our beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you think these are the people in the dunya who were drinking alcohol, who were smoking and made it their lifestyle? Give it up, my brothers and sisters in Islam. And wallahi, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said there is nothing that you will give up for the sake of Allah except that Allah will replace it with that which is better. The vaping is not worth it. Visualizing your respiration is not cool. It is dumb, wallahi, and it is the opposite of aql. It is the opposite of intellect. I visualize my respiration, and therefore I'm going to visualize the smoke that will come out from my body in Jahannam. May Allah protect us, ameen. Versus the person who longs for Jannah, and the one who submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gives all of this up for the sake of Allah, and only the heart that is clean will truly yearn to give up these sins. May Allah clean our hearts. Allahumma tahir qulubana ya Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana, Rabbana ighfir lana dhunubana wa kaffir anna sayyiatina wa tawaffana ma'al abrar. O Allah, our Lord, forgive us of our sins, cover up our shortcomings, and cause us to die in the company of the righteous. Ameen. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhab an-nar. O our Lord, give us the best of this world, the best of the hereafter. Protect us from the punishment of the fire. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in wa aqimus salam.